So I am genuinely confused. I do not know how any of this is going to help. So when you hear me asking a question in this is me genuinely asking how. How is this supposed to help? How is this supposed to work? Why is this better? How? Because from a logical standpoint, I don't see how this is going to make a difference. But let's read this, and I'm going to ask my questions, and if you can answer them in an academia-style manner, that would be great. From NBC News, Biden urged to pick person of color for top health job amid pandemic's toll on minority groups. Why? Why? What is the difference? What difference does it make? The racial disparities in the healthcare system have become a crucial issue as communities of color have been borne an overwhelming burden of the pandemic. But why and how is putting a person of color in the health position going to instantly fix that? President-elect Joe Biden is being pushed to name a person of color as his Health and Human Services Secretary, a move supporters say is designed to acknowledge the need to address the disproportionate burden of the pandemic has put on communities of color. But how is having a white person in that position making it worse, and how is going to having a black individual in that position make it better? How? Among the possible nominees whom allies have been advocating for are New Mexico Governor Michelle Lujan Grisham. Yeah. Well, she used to be on the Secretary of Health board here in New Mexico. Yeah, okay. Representative Raul Ruiz of California, a Latino physician and former emergency room doctor, and Representative Karen Bass of California, a black former physician assistant, according to 4 people familiar with the discussions who spoke on background to detail private deliberations. See, my brain is so confused I can't even think right. How does that help? How does having a certain race in the health position help another race? If you're in that health position and you're doing it correctly, then you look at it as, hey, we're Americans. I don't understand. Another top contender is Dr. Vivek Murthy, a former Surgeon General whose family immigrated from India and who has been a top Biden advisor. A person advising the transition said. Biden has said he will prioritize diversity in his cabinet picks. Well, that's the wrong choice. Why are you going to prioritize diversity? Don't you want to prioritize merit? Don't you want the best, regardless of what the color of their skin is? So you're telling me that you're going to prioritize diversity. So if you have too many of one color, no. In reality, if you have too many whites, because let's face it, he's never going to have too many blacks, never going to have too many. If the entire Senate, the entire House, the entire legislative branch, if the entirety of the American government, down to every single person, were all people of color, everybody would be like, oh, finally. Nobody would be like, wait, what's going on here? How come we have all this? Wait, what? We've gone too far. How is diversity your number one priority? Shouldn't merit? Don't we want the best? So we are foregoing the best for diversity? How does that make sense? And I know what people are saying, and you're saying it too. Well, diversity doesn't mean that we have the best, this and that and this and that. Yeah, but he's prioritizing diversity. I agree with that sentiment that, yes, there's no such thing as all of one race is better at something than all of another race. Okay, I got you. I hear you. Yeah, no, I agree. But he is prioritizing diversity, which means if he has too many white people, which, let's face it, one white person is too many in today's racial charged air, then he's not going to pick someone who has the best merit, because that wouldn't be prioritizing diversity, now would it? That's dumb. You don't prioritize diversity when people's lives are at stake. You prioritize the best individuals, merit-based. The racial disparities in the healthcare system have become a crucial issue as communities of color have borne an overwhelming burden of the coronavirus pandemic. But I highly doubt that that's because there is a white person in the health position job. Explain to me how that works. Just because it's a white person then people of color automatically suffer? Well, if that's the case, then if you put a black person in there, then whites and Latinas and everybody but the blacks would suffer. If you put an Indian in there, everybody but the Indians would suffer. If you put a Latino or a Latina in there, then everybody but the Latinos or Latinas are going to suffer. That's the logic. That's this logic. You see, racial politics doesn't make sense. It doesn't make any sense to me. How is it that the color of your skin automatically is going to make you the best person for the job? The color of your skin automatically is going to make you better, and you're going to do more for the same people of the same color of your skin than the other person, Barack Obama. Wow, you didn't see that, but a ghost must have just, like, I don't even know. Wow, okay. That was bizarre. Barack Obama. Okay, just making sure. Everybody said, Barack Obama, he's going to do all this stuff for the black community. No, he didn't. A lot of people in the black community will admit, yeah, Obama didn't really do much of anything. So how is it that we think that changing the color of skin is going to make things better? Wouldn't that be like, I don't know, racial profiling? Right? Let's continue. The mortality rate among black, Latino, and indigenous people has been 3 times that of white Americans who are infected with the virus. Okay, but how? Why? Why? It's not because there's a certain color in the health department. That's not the reason. Why? Why is it? I'll tell you what. I grew up in a Spanish land grant, Chile. Mi viven en Chile 25 años, a long time. I went to elementary school, I went to middle school, I went to high school with the Spanish land grant. So I was the minority. So I lived the opposite experience of what other people say. I was the minority. And let me tell you something. It is not a white, black, Latino thing. It is a minority-majority thing, because when I was the minority, I was the one who was hunted. I was the one who was beaten. I was the one who was racially profiled. I was the one who was denied services for my color. I was the one who was left out because of the color of my skin. So I don't want to hear any of that stuff, because I've lived the other side of it. But also living the other side of it, I would say it's a cultural thing. It's the machismo culture. Machismo culture, they get together in large groups. It's part of the culture. It's a cultural thing, in my opinion. If I'm wrong and you think I'm wrong and you think you can prove that I'm wrong, comment sections down below. If the mortality rate for those minority groups had been the same as it was for whites, about 21,000 blacks, 10,000 Latinos, and 1,000 indigenous Americans would still be alive, according by an analysis by the APM Research Lab. Okay, but how is it that having someone of these colors is going to stop this? How? You don't explain anywhere in this article how it's going to end just by putting someone of color in the position. Just by putting someone of color in the position, it's going to end. There's a lot of work public health has to do to understand structural racism. It has played a lot. There's no structural racism. Let me tell you something. I'm coming from the other side of it, where I was the minority. It's not structural. It's positional. It has played out a lot in this pandemic, said Dr. Richard Besser, a former director of the Centers for Disease Control and Prevention, who is head of the Robert Wood Johnson Foundation. But what color are you? Because, Richard Besser, because I guess if you're white, then everything you say for colored people doesn't matter. And if you're black, then I guess it means everything. And see how confusing this is? There are a lot of talented people of color, yes. And given a lot of the issues we are dealing with, looking at people's lived experiences is really important. Yes, looking at people's lived experiences is important. But how is putting someone of color going to prevent the spread among the people? How? Choosing ahead of the Department of Health and Human Services could be one of the most consequential early decisions Biden will have to make. By Inauguration Day, projections say 2,000 people a day will be deleting from the virus, and a vaccine may be in the early stages of distribution. The HHS Secretary will oversee everything from the development and distribution of drugs and vaccines to ensuring that people have access, including the millions of Americans on Medicare and Medicaid. So I am still confused. What? Are you saying that the white person who is in this position would distribute the vaccine to all whites and all colored people would be last? I highly doubt that. Highly doubt that. So why? How? How is having a person of color in this position going to help? Do you see my confusion? Because I'm like, I can see how having someone with the merit, with the experience, and with the drive in this position would help, but how, just by having someone of color, is it going to help? How? How, I ask you? Those are my questions. See if anybody answers them. I love you guys. See you on the next one.